Okay, so welcome to the part two of liquidity ratios. So let's explore another ratio under liquidity, which is cash ratio. So the formula for cash ratio is cash and cash equivalents divided by current liabilities. And what's the meaning of this ratio? So this ratio measures a company's ability to service its current liabilities with just its cash. Okay? Cash and cash equivalents, no? How much of the cash and cash equivalents are we able to finance the current liabilities? And it must be paired with other information, no? Like the information as to the peers within the industry of that particular business, no, to gauge company's performance. So I think I've already mentioned that one earlier with the prior ratios, like in current ratio and also in quick ratio. So it's still the same, no? So for us to have or for us to make good decisions, no, good interpretations, and leading to good recommendations. Again, it's best to have it compared with the other information in the industry. So it is generally less efficient to hold large amounts of cash since cash generates the least financial return. No? So um, normally, the company is not holding too much cash in their businesses, no? So, mangita gid sila pamaagi on how they can be able to invest the cash that they have para mo generate more returns, no? So, like, for example, when you are in the back at the bank, right? You are having a savings account and nag-store ka og cash, no? Nag-save ka og cash there sa imong bank account. So, as you have as you can notice at the end of the year, you only see a small amount of interest, interest income from your savings deposit. So it's true. It is also true to other businesses, no? So dili sila mag pundo o cash sa ilahang accounts, bank accounts, no? Rather they would invest it to some other form of investments para maka-generate sila more interests or more income, no, from those. Okay. And then the interpretation is that higher cash ratio indicates that the company is more liquid and more conservative. So, pare-pareho ra gyapon siya sa previous na mga ratios since it can repay more current liabilities using available cash. So, looking at a more interpretation of cash ratio, no? So a high cash ratio again indicates a company has a strong ability to meet its financial obligation, even if it faces challenging economic conditions. No, it's true. That is true. No, but we also have to look into other aspects. No, so on the other hand, a low cash ratio indicates that a company may struggle to pay off its short-term liabilities, which may lead to default or bankruptcy. No? So that's true as well. And when analyzing a company's cash ratio, it is essential to consider the industry and business model. So let's discuss why is that so, no? Why do we have to consider the industry and business model? Okay? Okay. So for example, no, a technology company. So that is different, no, from a manufacturing company. So different ang ilang business model, different sila industry that they're in, no? So we could say that technology company relies on research and development more, no? And may entail a lower cash ratio as compared to a manufacturing company, no? Why? Ngano kaha? This is because technology companies often require significant investment in research and development, which may result in a lower cash position. Okay, so adto sila nag-invest sa ilang R&D, no? That's why they're having lower cash as compared to the manufacturing company, no? So um the um on the other side, no, as compared to a retail industry, so same ra gyapon siya, no? So when you look at the cash position in the retail industry or in a retail company, so daghan gyud sila cash, no? Daghan sila cash flows as compared to the technology company. So it is crucial to note that cash ratios vary widely across industries, and comparing the cash ratio of two companies in different industries may not be meaningful. So for you to have a uh for you to compare or to have a meaningful comparison between companies. So the first is you have to assess whether that falls within the same industry, no? So you also have to look into its size, no? Kay lahi-lahi pod ang um lahi pod siya if ever it's a smaller business compared to a larger business. So of course, kung larger business, no, mas gamay jud og cash kay daghan og obligations nga i-meet ang kanang large nga company. So it okay. So I already mentioned it, no? Yung last, it is important to consider the company size when interpreting cash ratio results. Okay. Next is the operating cash flow ratio. So it's another ratio, no, aside from cash ratio. So operating cash flow, no? How do we arrive at operating cash flow? How do we compute for operating cash flow? That is your total cash received for sales or total cash inflows, no? Less the total cash outflows. Okay? So total cash inflows for sales or total cash outflows for the operating expenses. Or another is revisit how you can be able to arrive at your cash balance, no, operating cash balance sa imuhang statement of cash flows. That is net income plus depreciation, no? Net income plus depreciation less change in working capital. Okay, that's how you can be able to arrive at your cash flow from operations. So a higher and positive operating cash flow is favorable and indicates that the company is more liquid since it can repay more current liabilities using operating cash inflows. So same with the other ratios, no? If ever it's higher and higher than one, no, or which is positive, so it indicates that it is more liquid, no, because it can pay off more, it can pay off its current liabilities, no? Okay, how to use operating cash flow ratio to make better business decisions. So let's first take a look at assessing financial stability. Okay, so what do we mean by this, no? So the operating cash flow ratio provides a snapshot of a company's ability to generate cash from its core operations, no? Kaya nga siya tinawag na operating cash flow, no? That will be derived from your core operations, no, the cash coming from the core operations. So a higher ratio suggests that the company has sufficient cash flow to cover its day-to-day expenses and obligations. Okay, going to the next, comparing industry benchmarks. So I already mentioned this one, that we need to compare, to make comparisons with regards to industry average, no, or industry or the company's peers in that industry. No, why? So because we can be able to know how is the company performing as compared with the industry peers, right? And this analysis helps identify areas of strength or weakness of the company. No? So when you look at the leading companies, no, what are their best practice in terms of their operating cash flow, no? Operating cash flow ratio. So you can be able to determine how you are um, how you are performing as compared to those companies, and then by that you can be able to identify areas of strength or weakness and enables businesses to take appropriate measures to improve your company's financial performance. Okay, number 3, identifying cash flow trends. Why do we have to do this? Because by tracking the operating cash flow ratio over time, or the trends of your operating cash flow, no, so businesses can be able to identify trends or patterns in their cash flow generation, no? Or in their on how the business generates inflows, no? In terms of cash. So this information is invaluable for making proactive decisions. No, very important to make proactive decisions, such as adjusting operational strategies, optimizing working capital management, or exploring new revenue streams. Huh? So we can be able to make or to explore strategies, no, para much more inflows will be coming in to our company. And then highlighting cash flow constraints, no? Of course there will be constraints, no? So with this, no, if we highlight cash flow constraints, we can shed light on potential cash flow constraints that may hinder a company's growth or expansion plans. Okay? So of course, businesses has goals of expansion, growth, no? So let's put that into an example. So a declining ratio may indicate a need to improve collections. no? So probably your accounts receivable um have been bloated, no? So daghan kay mo accounts receivable, lesser cash. So you need to improve your collection policy, no, or your collections. Then reduce expenses. You need to reduce expenses. Okay? Then other example is to explore financial financing options to bridge the cash flow gap, no? So that's how you can be able to um, address, no, if there are declining, or if ever your cash flow ratio is declining, operating cash flow ratio is declining. Okay, number 5 is to support investment decisions. So can provide insights into the potential returns and risks associated with a particular venture. So when you analyze your operating cash flow, no, it can provide insights, or it can give you an insight, no, of um, having potential returns and risks associated with a certain venture that you want to invest in. Okay, so number 6 is enhancing financial planning. Enhancing financial planning. So why do we need to use operating cash flow ratio, no, to enhance financial planning? So by incorporating the operating cash flow ratio into financial planning processes, no, So businesses can develop more accurate cash flow forecasts and allocate resources effectively. Okay? So financial planning can aid in developing more accurate cash flow forecast and alignment with the resources that the company has. Okay? And this proactive approach helps mitigate cash flow challenges and ensures the availability of funds for essential business operations. Okay, so enough with operating cash flow ratio. Let's go to the next, rate component under liquidity, which is your net working capital or your working capital. Okay? So sometimes, some of the authors would say that current assets less current liabilities, um, that would be called as net working capital. Net working capital, no? Kay they might think that working capital is only current assets, no? And some of the authors, no, they um they use the term working capital, which already includes the um the current liabilities, no, as a deduction from the current assets. So in our problems, no, let's make it kuan lang. Um, let's have an alignment that if I say it's working capital, no, or kung dili kay ko mubutang og net working capital, that's already your current assets less current liabilities. Okay? So it measures the amount of capital that the company can use for its day-to-day operations. No? So it is also an alternative way of presenting the current ratio. Working capital of 0 is equivalent to a current ratio of 1. So meaning your current assets is just equal to your current liabilities. Okay? So let's put that, or let's interpret a certain example in a real world scenario. So imagine, no? Imagine yourself that you're working in a retail store during the holiday season, no? So kana galing maggrocery ta, no? Sa um mga department stores during the holiday season. Daghan kaayo or taas kaayo og linya, no? So as shoppers flood in, the store's inventory swells, no? So bloated imong inventory and accounts receivable grow as credit sales spike. Okay? Kaya of course, dili ra man ta mo cater og cash, 'di ba? So we also are open, or the retail company is also open to granting credit, no? For example, credit card imong mode of payment. Simultaneously, the store must pay suppliers for the extra inventory, no? So, of course, no, naa dyan ay cost, no, added to that extra inventory. Whether that would be holding cost, no, or carrying costs, or some other type of cost, like your shipping cost for that extra inventory. Then, the store also has to cover seasonal employee wages, no? So, if ever, come holiday season kicks in, so you or the company's management might think of adding employees, no, for that particular period of time, no? So naay i-cover nga seasonal employee wages and manage other short-term obligations. Okay? So net working capital helps gauge whether the store can maintain its delicate balance, no? Dapat ma-maintain sa store ang or maka-cover up ra gyapon ang store in terms of its current liabilities, no, even with the season, with the seasonality, no? So consider as well another example, no? Let's explore a tech startup company, no, or technology startup company. So it secures a massive investment, right? So technology is such an expensive one, no, for the company to invest in. So they flush with cash, they hire aggressively, they lease a big office, no, and invest in cutting edge equipment, no. So of course, na your equipment nga i-investan pod, no, tangible equipments. But if their accounts receivable lag behind, no, they risk running out of cash to pay salaries or cover operating expenses, no? So you have to have um a strategy, no? When you venture an opportunity, okay? So net working capital. Okay, we're down to the last two ratio. Defensive interval, no? So defensive interval. So we were not able to look at this, no, when I was still in the undergrad. So, and as what Miss Sarah mentioned, so pang masteral daw ni, no, ang inyong book. So, that's a good thing because para ma-orient na mo daan ani nga mga ratios, no? But there are a lot of ratios pa, no? So since our degree program is not that more focused onto financial management, so we also have limitations as to unsa ato ang studyhan, no, ng mga ratios. Anyways, um defensive interval. So that is a measure of time that gauges how many days a company can fund its operations with the current assets, no, without tapping into other sources of capital or revenues. Okay, the formula for that one, para mas easier ang kanyang meaning, no? The formula for that is your average current assets. Okay, average current assets divided by your average daily cash expenditures. So I know that this the meaning or the definition is somewhat like overwhelming, but um that just or let's just translate that into simpler terms, no? So this defensive interval ratio is a financial metric, no, or a financial measurement wherein it assesses a company's ability to cover its operating expenses, no, or yung average daily cash expenditures, no, with with the company's average current assets. Okay? So, other term for average daily cash expenditures would be operating expenses, no? So, average current assets divided by operating expenses. Okay? So, how is it differentiated with the current ratio, no? So, it is important that we can be able to differentiate defensive interval versus current ratio. No, so current ratio measures a company's ability to cover its short-term liabilities, no, with its current assets. While the defensive interval ratio or yung DIR measures a company's ability to cover its operating expenses, no. So therefore, while a high current ratio is desirable, it does not necessarily mean that a company has enough cash to cover its operating expenses. Okay? Dili siya ingon automatically that if taas ka current ratio, meaning um okay na ka sa imong defensive interval ratio, no? So you still have to assess what's the operating expenses, no? Is your current assets Are your current assets um, can cover, no, your operating expenses or your daily cash expenditures. Okay. So, understanding the defensive interval ratio. So, okay, again, as mentioned, no, the definition of defensive interval ratio is a measure of a company's liquidity and financial health. Okay, so it takes into account the company's current assets and compares them to its daily cash burn rate or your daily expenditures. So this ratio also indicates how many days the company can continue to operate without generating any revenue. No, kay we cannot rely on some other sources of capital, no, such as our own revenue. Okay, so this plainly um assesses, no, or how many days the company can continue to operate without generating any revenue. So how can we know if that is a good defensive interval ratio? No, what's the ideal kaya? So generally, a good defensive interval ratio varies by industry and company size. So you have to consider the industry, the business, and its size. So a ratio of at least 30 days is considered adequate, no? Okay na if at least 30 days ang imuhang defensive interval ratio. While a ratio of 60 days or more is considered strong, no? So mas maka-cover up, no? If ever much more than 30 days, no? Meaning mas maka-continue to operate ang company without generating any revenue by just relying on its current assets to cover up the operating expenses or the daily expenditures. Okay? So, why is the defensive interval ratio important? The defensive interval ratio is important because it measures a company's ability to cover its expenses during a period of low or no revenue. Okay? So, this is a very important financial metric, no, para maka-assess ta if ever wala joy revenue or inflows nga mo come in during a particular season. So we are still sure that the current assets are still good to cover up the daily cash um expenses, operating expenses. So it is a critical metric for companies that operate in cyclical industries or are susceptible to economic downturns. Mm. Okay. And lastly, how can a company improve its defensive interval ratio? No? How can a company improve? So a company can improve its defensive interval ratio by increasing its current assets or reducing its daily cash burn rate or reducing its operating expenses daily. So this can be achieved by increasing sales, no? Can increase sales, you can either reduce expenses or you can improve the working capital management, no? Or your current assets. Okay. We're down to the last. Yay. So last ratio for liquidity. That is your debt service coverage ratio. What do we mean by this? No? It is used by banks to measure a company's ability to service current debt obligations from its operations. Okay, so the formula for that one is your EBITDA less the cash tax payments. No? So divided by interest and principal payments or yung utang mo, no, to the bank. So okay. So if ever your DSCR will be above 1, it means or it indicates a positive cash flow. No? Kay mas dako man ang imong EBITDA less cash payments kaysa imuhang utang. No? So It means, or it simply means, that the borrower has sufficient cash flow to cover their debt obligations. No? Let's take, or let's put that into an example. So if a company has a DSCR of 1.5, so it generates $1, $1.50 in cash flow for every $1 of debt service required, no? Or yung utang. So this indicates a healthy financial position and reduces the risk of default. Okay, so what if the DSCR is below 1? So that means it may it can signal potential financial distress, no? So a DSCR below 1 indicates that the borrower's cash flow is not enough to meet their debt obligations. No? Dili siya enough para makakover sa debt sa bangko. No? In such cases, the borrower may struggle to make timely payments, no? Increasing the risk of default. No? Then penalties would also come in. So lenders are generally reluctant to lend to borrowers with a DSCR below 1, as it indicates a higher risk of default. So that is also a protection on the side of the lender, no? Therefore, if lender that they are also looking at your DSCR. So DSCR requirements vary across industries, no? So vary across sizes as well, no? Different industries have different levels of risk and profitability, leading to varying DSCR requirements. Like for instance, no, industries with stable cash flows and lower risk, no, such as utilities company, no, or government contracts may have higher DSCR um, requirements. No? Conversely, industries with higher risk, if higher risk siya, no? Like for example, yung startups, mga companies nga naggasugod pa lang, or real estate developers may have lower DSCR requirements. Okay? Okay. Number 4, DSCR impacts borrowing costs. Now, why is that so? So lenders often consider the DSCR when determining the interest rate, no, and terms of a loan. Okay, so that's the starting point, or that's one of the starting point for them to determine the interest rate in terms of a loan. No, kay you also have, as lender, no, you also have to um assess your customers, no, if they can be able to pay on time, or if they can be able to meet the obligation that they have from you. So a higher DSCR indicates a lower risk of default, which can lead to lower borrowing costs for the borrower. Conversely, a lower DSCR may result in higher interest rates or stricter loan terms to compensate for the increased risk. Okay. And lastly, these DSCR can be improved through various strategies. So how can DSCR be improved? So if a borrower has a low DSCR, they can employ to improve it by increasing revenues, no? Increasing more revenues, reducing your expenses, no? So you can look at your formula, no? You have to increase your revenues, no? Kaya naman siya sa numerator. Or you have to decrease your expenses. Okay? And another is to refinance debt at lower interest rates. Kaya kung lower interest rates, no? So, mas mo low imong DSCR, di ba? Ang naa sa imuhang denominator. Or extending the repayment period can all contribute to a higher DSCR. Okay? By taking proactive steps to improve their DSCR, borrowers can enhance their financial health and borrowing capacity. So we really have to understand, no? We really have to understand the debt service coverage ratio. Why? Because it is essential for both borrowers and lenders, no? It provides a valuable insights into the ability to meet debt obligations, assesses financial health, no? Which is reflected in your um numerator figures and also the denominator, no, which is your interest expense. And also, influences borrowing costs, no? If ever taas imong DSCR, so meaning, you can, kung taas imong DSCR, no, it can lead to lower borrowing cost for the borrower. Okay? So stakeholders can be able to have and informed decisions regarding debt management and mitigate the risks associated with debt repayment. Okay, so here's the illustration, no? So I'll be giving you this one um as an activity, no? So please calculate the liquidity ratios from the information presented. So tanan nga na-discuss na to nga liquidity ratios, you have to compute, no? Write it in a one whole sheet of paper. Okay? Make sure to include the formula for each of the ratios. Okay? So I hope that's clear. If ever you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise it in the group chat, or you can ask that question when we meet physically next week. Okay, so have a great day, everyone. That concludes our meeting or our session for the part 2 of liquidity. So I'll be um, giving another lecture for the activity or efficiency ratios. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.